Nous désirons souhaiter la bienvenue à tous nos distingués invités et commanditaires. C'est un réel plaisir de vous accueillir au centre d'interprétation Spirit Lake. Je cède donc la parole à notre maître de cérémonie et président de la corporation, M. James Slobodian.
Bienvenue. Welcome. Vitaly Movas, for those who talk in Ukrainian. It's good to have you here at Camp Spirit Lake on this historical day, where we'll be inaugurating this Interpretation Center, the first in our country of Canada. And by having different guests who have come as far as Edmonton, Montreal, Quebec, and we've got our parliamentarians from the federal level. Avant que je les oublie, je voudrais mentionner que j'ai un conseil d'administration composé de 9 personnes qui viennent de tous les coins de la région de Abitibi-Témiscamingue. 9 people who are on my board of directors who come from the whole region of Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Just to tell you that all this work has been done in a period of 13 years. We started off the construction of the Interpretation Center in the month of July 28th. Nous avons ouvert au grand public, we opened to the grand public, le 28 juin, pendant 67 jours, in 67 days. Nous avons touché au-dessus de 2300 visiteurs. Pour nous autres, à un moment donné, c'était on ne peut pas demander mieux que ça. C'était une réussite. Mr. Kenny, who has just flight in not too long ago with his parliamentarians, have accompanied him, and it's with a great pleasure that we greet him. Mr. Kenny.
Merci beaucoup, James. Monseigneur, Votre Excellence, Révérend Père, chère religieuse, leader communautaire, James, et à vous et tous les membres du conseil d'administration de Spirit Lake Camp Corporation. Merci beaucoup à nos collègues parlementaires d'être venus ici pour cette annonce et ce lancement très important. Aujourd'hui, c'est une journée pour qui je m'attendais depuis longtemps, parce qu'en tant que ministre du multiculturalisme pour le gouvernement fédéral, j'ai travaillé avec la communauté ukrainienne et les organisations de plusieurs communautés ethnoculturelles pendant plusieurs années pour avoir une reconnaissance formelle et perpétuelle de la politique injuste de l'internement des Canadiens d'origine de l'Europe orientale pendant la Première Guerre mondiale. As we were driving in from the airport, from the airstrip, I saw the cemetery near here where we know many members of the community who were interned in this place between 1915 and 1917 are buried. And I thought to myself, there's some sense of that being a desolate place for those people who came here against their will and never left. It is so not only in the sense that it is remote from the comforts of their homes from which they were taken, but also for many of us from our daily lives. It is also so in the sense that our hearts are moved by the memory of the men, but also the women and children who were rather brutally and as a matter of calculated state policy transported here by the federal government during the First World War and subjected to forced labor. The snow that fell here recently lends a poignant atmosphere to this place. Snow that would, under happier circumstances, bring joy and excitement to the children, but in those years, perhaps added to the discomfort of living close to the elements in the primitive work and survival conditions of a desolate work camp. Nos cœurs sont émus par le souvenir des hommes, surtout, mais aussi des femmes et des enfants qui ont été assez brutalement, et à cause d'une politique calculée de l'État, transportés ici par le gouvernement fédéral en vertu de la loi sur les mesures de guerre pendant la Première Guerre mondiale et soumis au travail forcé. The bunkhouses that were operated here by the federal government from 1915 to 1917 served as home for thousands of innocents whose only crime was that they were of Eastern European and particularly Ukrainian ethnicity. and had answered an invitation from Canada to settle here. The late Mary Ann Manco was born in Montreal. She was the daughter of immigrants from a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire that is now Ukraine. Mary Ann was 6 years old and living with her family in Pointe-Saint-Charles in Montreal when the war broke out. They were all arrested, her father and mother and their 3 girls, under the War Measures Act. One of Mary's sisters died during that year, and they were interned in this very place. Let us pause for a moment to remember and pray for little Nellie Manco, aged 2.5, and all the bewildered people who were interned here. In a blessed falling asleep, grant, O Lord, eternal rest unto thy departed servant Nellie, and make her memory to be eternal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an ugly blot on Canada's history. At the same time that these events were unfolding, our brave men were fighting for the very liberties and decency that the federal government had stripped from these immigrants and Canadian-born children. What a blow to their dignity, their trust and their hope. What a betrayal of our rule of law in which habeas corpus is such a vital part. What a blow to our conscience at that moment as Canadians upholding the traditions of a free society, our empire of liberty under arms in the fields of Flanders. There is an irony in that the British government, in documents found by Professor Lubomir Luciuk in the archives, the British government urged the Canadian government not to treat all people from Austro-Hungarian Empire as enemy aliens, because the Ukrainians in particular were not about to enlist for the Habsburg Emperor Franz Joseph. Il y a une ironie dans le fait que le gouvernement britannique a exhorté le gouvernement canadien de ne pas traiter tous les gens de l'Autriche-Hongrie comme étrangers ennemis, car les Ukrainiens en particulier n'étaient pas sur le point de se battre pour l'empereur Habsbourg. Ottawa, toutefois, a poursuivi une politique aveugle, tout comme il a fait en 1970 lors de l'arrestation et l'emprisonnement des Québécois sous la même loi sur les mesures de guerre. Ottawa pursued an indiscriminate policy. Its failure to discriminate prudently and justly between loyal Canadians and potential dissidents led to the injustice and tragedy of the internment policy. Mary Ann Manco died in 2007 and was widely celebrated for her dedication to the memory of her compatriots. Canadians who suffered at the hands of their own government, which failed to protect the innocent in the hour of need. And so thanks to all of the community leaders who would not allow us to forget about this unjust policy of internment, all of those who have maintained their memory, we want to thank them. Thanks to their efforts, I was pleased to announce in 2008 the $10 million Endowment Fund, together with the Canadian-Ukrainian Foundation of Taras Shevchenko and its president, Andy Hladishevsky, who's with us tonight, as well as with Paul Grod, the president of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, and Lubomir Luciuk, president of the Ukrainian-Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Thanks to their leadership, we now see some of the great fruits of the Canadian First World War Internment Recognition Fund in this interpretive center, which we are now officially opening. Through that $10 million contribution, we are seeing the good that is being put to use here today, among other places across Canada. Let us pledge that while we stand here, never to forget or to let the memory die. In a blessing falling asleep, grant, O Lord, eternal rest unto thy departed servants, and make their memory to be eternal. Dziękuję, dobry wieczór. Thank you.
There's a special way to do it, yes. Yes.
Get them in, get hands straight.
To everybody, we wish you a safe back trip home, wherever you come from. Bon retour à la maison pour tous ceux.